Welcome back to Wickerson Studios. Michael Wickerson here. We're into still the AI Copilot into AI Stable Diffusion, Introduction to Numpy Arrays. And we're going to just take a look at a little model. This will be my second example of a model through this video series. I'm going to make about 10 videos for each part. And there'll be about 10 parts in each video. And I'm about ready to release this first GH script online at Wickerson Studios this afternoon. I do have a couple more scripts to add, but like I said, I like to use some data visualization and visualization techniques. And what I've done is produced a pretty simple model here from drawing from what we last covered. And what we last covered was the NumPy and the arrays. And I should probably add a little thing here. Always nice to debug to the finest detail. I'm sure I've missed tons of little things, but nothing too essential. This is adding two arrays, and I'm choosing it. You can work with n-dimensional arrays, but I'm going to work from 3 lists currently. 2 n-dimensional arrays from 3 lists each. And what that does is basically provide the data, and you'll see that it just brings in the data and outputs the data. And you're like, what's the point of that? Well, what it's done is it's actually brought in this group of data and this group of data. So this data is brought in this data. It's adding those together to get this data. Now, of course, you could do that in different ways in Grasshopper, but the point is that things are moving lightning fast within this node. So if we are jumping over to what actually is seen within this environment, you see that running this script and sliding through, I will just have to downsize my Rhino model for a split second. You can see that this is operating so long as my cache has been taken off memory. I can sit here and adjust what's driving here, and you'll see my update my arrays instantaneously at the speed of C programming and make fine adjustments on them. So that data is coming out. And what I did was list, this is where I got into data visualization, which I don't show how to do this. I just give it to you as an example. And I'm doing some pretty basic kind of not the most compacted scripting, because the compact scripts are going to be folded into Visual Studio Code. This is still a playful arena of producing. At this point, we're going to leave Visual Studio. It's still active and running, but we're going to show you within this model that Grasshopper itself is operating off of these boxes are being constructed here. I'll bring them over to my Grasshopper window. These boxes are being sampled here, and unlike going to Matplot library, these 2 bits of data, this one and this one, will be added together to produce this new geometry. I think that's kind of nice that it runs incredibly fast to do that. A little deconstructing of points and reconstructing of points, and then with those points producing a Boolean union, which will bring us into 10, actually 15 closed reps, some untrimmed surfaces. It's kind of interesting how it's dividing it, and then a little bit of math through building a little plane to put this on, but the main math is here working through a series of a list length number and then orienting those. So I have this kind of cityscape that sprawls back, and I chose a linear array of points to go on, but you could use a polar array, you could use a curve, points on curve. You can make the geometries more and more tricky. What I like is I can grab this geometry of just these buildings themselves, and I've actually baked on another one beforehand, so let me grab these guys here and get rid of them. This one's ready to bake again. I'll just take these geometries, and I think I've actually baked the surface, but if not, I will just bake everything again. And there we go. We have another structure here. You can see that we've got these kind of pieces floating or hovering. But for anybody who got into Galapagos, it really works well with the gene pool tools that I could fitness solve this for maximum and minimum areas. Now, of course, it wouldn't be too exciting. They just make the boxes real small or really, really big. And there's nothing that really you need the optimization for, but that tendency is there for those that want to go into it. So I'll just leave that there because the 2 end parameters within Grasshopper are the gene pool and the Galapagos fitness solver. If you haven't played around with that, there's tons of things online. It's not really a plugin anymore. It's involved in Grasshopper 1. And I'm going to leave it at that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to return. I'm going to leave this video as just a little data visualization. These are all nice closed Boolean single shapes as you roll through. And it's another model for you to look at. And as we close in on the end of this, I'm going to do 2 more scripts with NumPy in this first series before I release it. I'm trying to figure out a price to release it at because I think it's going to be in 6 to 10 parts in the end, but it'll be a pretty extensive video series. You'll see I've already got several hours just in this first section to watch on YouTube. Now, what I am going to do is leave this. The script is running, but I promised you that I would go in and deal a little bit. Let me jump over here to my other Rhino as a guide, which is this one, and I don't need to see that Rhino window, we are going to go in and finish up with a sample of shape of 3D dimensional arrays and data type of 3D dimensional arrays. We're going to produce those pretty soon on the next video. When I'm done that, I will end up releasing this. I think this will be the last visual. I'll just bring it up online. You'll have a sense of it. And you'll notice that I have to start thinking about in Visual Studio Code to introduce more than hops, numbers, and integers. I have to start using hops strings. So we're going to end with that, and then we'll go even more detailed as we get into part 2 of this series. So once again, Michael Wickerson at Wickerson Studios. This is Numpy into Grasshopper and then data visualization, but also with the ability to manipulate data very quickly through arrays and multidimensional arrays in the Visual Studios window. And the Python 3 NumPy libraries. This, of course, will get more elaborate as we enter into pandas. So that's it for there. I think I'll take this up so I don't interrupt my video. I usually keep it on the second screen. I will stop recording.